passion, you see, can be destroyed by a doctor. It cannot be created. I was an accomplice in my own frustration. You can't always let people do their own thing. Tragedy, for me, is not a conflict between right and wrong, but between two different kinds of right. If London is a watercolor, New York is an oil painting. But the first published thing I did was a detective story, detective novel, and I did it on my own. I think people nowadays do tend to blame their parents for everything. I think plays, like books, are endemic. They grow out of the soil of the writer and the place he's writing about. I think, you just can't move them about, you know. I made, over the years in Cambridge, several very good American friends, and America appeared to me, a land of promise in every sense of that word, a land of freedom from the inhibitions and restrictions that I felt in England. Things rust, you know, like the heart. My cardiologist said, it's a pump, use it. That's the sole advice I've got to give you. It's the same in playwriting. Don't theorize about it. Do it. Librarians as a race tend to be tedious. The rhetoric is the key to the character. It's the verbal music of the piece. I think I did have fantasies about being an actor. In fact, I know I did. I've seen the most remarkable thing. It's in the New York Public Library. They've got the original typescript of The Importance of Being Earnest, all 4 acts of it. Watching Italian opera, all those male sopranos screeching, stupid fat couples rolling their eyes about. That's not love, it's just rubbish. I really believe that studying organization, even in the form of studying detective story organization, is very, very valuable for a playwright, a budding playwright. The conquistadors and their followers were very rough people, and they were fixated on gold and silver. They were oblivious to the astonishing achievements of the Inca civilization. Our war began September 3, 1939, with the invasion of Poland by Germany, and thereafter the great state of danger in England at that time, with the bombings, necessitated the evacuation of children. Our function as playwrights to some extent is to make audiences see with their ears, because films make us see with our eyes much better. They look so expectant, and then they look so depressed. That was the other great lesson that the Royal Hunt of the Sun taught me. It was the profundity that mask drama can achieve, that of course, the audience were not seeing masks moving at all. Rehearsing a play is making the word flesh. Publishing a play is reversing the process. I think possibly the first film that has music as its leading character. Everything we feel is made of time. While the beauties of life are shaped by it. It is very, very difficult for a playwright to write a scene in which a young man has his first deep experience of sex with a girl whom he found immensely attractive, is fully satisfied by this event and gets up and blinds a lot of horses. A part of me is always envious of people who live in the present and are sustained by a sense of spontaneity. Even dogs have that capacity, they're always wanting to participate in something, and I don't often have that element in me. I'd be willing to bet that any incursion throughout history in which the invading country has proclaimed it is bringing benefits to the conquered is based on a lie. You never quite know what's going to strike your imagination, or something that won't going to leave you alone, not going to leave alone, and this was one for me. Black comedy is a farce that is played in the dark, as you know, with the lights full on. It's the Chinese convention of reversing light and dark, and exactly where anybody is at any given moment is the play. And in fact, I think one of the best guides to telling you who you are, and I think children use it all the time for this purpose, is fantasy. It's an extraordinary thing about Mozart is that you never tire of him. He never bores me, and he doesn't. Not only bore me, that's too strong a word. I was brought up in an Orthodox Jewish household. I don't think I ever had a single discussion with my parents about faith. It was just something gently imposed. I was born in Liverpool in England, and I lived there for the first 9 years of my life. There used to be a certain condescension to Mozart. His music was regarded as pleasant. He was a porcelain figure playing a porcelain harpsichord. My actual childhood, as opposed to my adolescence, was not spent in London. I discover what I mean as I write. That can be both terrifically exciting and very dangerous, because when you look at your words later, you wonder, did I really mean that, or am I just making verbal patterns? Art and literature are my surrogate religions. In London, Equus caused a sensation because it displayed cruelty to horses. In New York, because it allegedly displayed cruelty to psychiatrists. Tragedy, for me, is not a conflict between right and wrong, but between two different kinds of right. I was an accomplice in my own frustration. Love is the only doorway from the prison of ourselves. Thank you so much for watching the full video.